5 points, 4 assists, 0 turnovers, 6 minutes. That is what Caitlin Clark produced the moment Team USA finally put the ball in her hands, and it raises a question that the mainstream coverage seems completely unwilling to ask. If those numbers came in just 6 minutes, what exactly are her coaches doing with the other 34? You have probably already seen the headlines celebrating Team USA's 55-point demolition of New Zealand in the World Cup qualifiers. But here is what all those celebration posts are burying. Clark spent the majority of that game playing out of position, parked at small forward while other players handled point guard duties. And the numbers do not just tell a story, they make an argument, one the coaching staff may not want to hear. Because when you stack her tournament stats next to those 6 fourth-quarter minutes, the picture becomes impossible to ignore. If this kind of stat layer analysis is exactly why you keep showing up here, hit that like button before we go any deeper. It tells us to keep producing it. Team USA came into this matchup on the second night of a back-to-back. New Zealand had already dropped 3 straight games in the tournament. On paper, this was always going to be a blowout. Most analysts expected a margin somewhere around 70 points. The final result was a 55-point win. Still massive, but inconsistent in how they got there. The first quarter was choppy, the second quarter clicked. The third quarter fell apart again. Then the fourth quarter looked elite. That kind of up-and-down rhythm in a game this lopsided tells you something important. And it all traces back to one specific coaching decision. For most of the game, Clark was deployed off the ball at small forward. Without primary ball-handling responsibilities, she could not create off the dribble, could not push the pace, and could not run the orchestrated offense she has built her entire career around. She struggled to find rhythm. Her shot never got going. She looked visibly uncomfortable in a role that actively removes everything that makes her dangerous. Through 3 quarters, she shot 2 for 7 from three-point range, shots she normally makes. And her overall impact was a fraction of what this team needs from her. Then the coaching staff made the adjustment in the fourth quarter. Clark moved back to point guard, and almost immediately, the offense looked like a completely different operation. In roughly 6 minutes of action, she posted 5 points and 4 assists with 0 turnovers. That is not a good stretch. That is a perfectly efficient stretch. That is cause and effect playing out in real time. What made it even more revealing was the type of playmaking she was generating. Multiple hockey assists showed up throughout that stretch, passes that created the pass that created the basket. Those never appear in the traditional box score, but they shape how an entire offense breathes. When Clark is orchestrating, cutters get found before the defense can rotate. Shooters receive the ball a step earlier than they expect. The pace of the whole operation accelerates. The New Zealand defense, already overmatched on talent, had absolutely no answer for it. She also finished 4 for 4 on 2-point attempts in this game. Every shot she took inside the arc went in, and that is not isolated to this matchup. She has not missed a 2-point shot during this entire stretch of tournament games. 100% from inside the arc. That level of finishing efficiency inside, combined with her playmaking, makes the off-ball experiment look even more puzzling. You do not bench a chef and ask her to wait tables. Here is what we want to know from you. Should the coaching staff commit to Clark at point guard for every minute of the remaining games, or do you think the off-ball experiment still has a real strategic purpose? Drop your honest take in the comments right now. Now, let us talk about the actual tournament stat sheet, because this is where the argument gets airtight. Across all 5 games in this World Cup qualifier run, Caitlin Clark is currently leading Team USA in 3 of the 6 major statistical categories. She is first in points per game at 12.8, roughly 3 points ahead of Ryan Howard, who sits second. She leads the team in assists per game, and she is sitting at the top of the FIBA efficiency rankings for the entire roster. Beyond that, her true shooting percentage hovers around 80% bars, which is the highest mark on the team, and frankly, one of the most efficient numbers you will see at any level of international competition. She is also leading the roster in minutes per game, essentially tied with Paige Beckers and Kelsey Plum by just a handful of seconds, but still first. And Beckers is actually taking more shot attempts per game than Clark, despite logging slightly fewer minutes, which makes Clark's efficiency numbers even more remarkable in context. More shots on fewer touches, cleaner results. That is what elite playmakers do with limited opportunity. The one number critics like to reach for is turnovers. Clark does lead the team in that category, but here is the context that reframes the whole conversation. Her assist-to-turnover ratio sits comfortably above 2-to-1, taunts me, which is the standard benchmark coaches actually use to evaluate whether a high-usage playmaker is being productive or reckless. She clears it with room to spare, and beyond the official numbers, she is generating scoring opportunities that never even register as assists. The perfectly timed pass to the cutter who gets fouled, the skip pass that arrives a beat too early for the shot to fall. Pure playmaking has a shadow value that the box score simply does not capture. The other players on this roster absolutely deserve their credit. Angel Reese was arguably the best player on the floor in the first half against New Zealand. She brought rebounding aggression and defensive intensity that set the tone before the offense even got settled. Ryan Howard had the kind of game that makes opposing scouts uncomfortable when she gets into a mid-range rhythm. Defenses genuinely have no reliable answer. Kelsey Plum has produced offensively in every single game. Paige Beckers leads the entire team in steals at 2.3 per game, making her the sharpest defensive guard on the roster. Monique Billings has been a quiet revelation. She moves well without the ball, finishes around the basket efficiently, and slots seamlessly into whatever lineup they build around Clark's distribution. Real quick, if our coverage has been your go-to breakdown for what is actually happening with this team, becoming a channel member is the best way to keep us digging into the stories the highlight reels skim past. Hit that join button below. But here is the number that makes the coaching question impossible to dismiss. 6 major statistical categories across this tournament: points, assists, efficiency, true shooting, minutes, and two-point shooting. Caitlin Clark leads 4 of them outright. The remaining 2 go to Reese for rebounding and Beckers for steals. That is not a team with an unclear identity. That is a team with a defined hierarchy that the coaching staff has been spending 3 quarters per game trying to root around. The fourth quarter against New Zealand did not reveal something new about Caitlin Clark. It confirmed what the numbers had already been saying for 5 games straight. The next test is Spain, a team with one of the most organized defensive schemes in this bracket. Spain will not allow the kind of drift and recovery that New Zealand permitted. If Clark spends the majority of that game at small forward again, the efficiency numbers will compress fast against elite competition. But if she is running the offense from opening tip, connecting those Q4 dots to a high-stakes game against Spain is a genuinely frightening proposition for the other team. We will be tracking exactly how the coaching staff deploys her when it matters most. If you want the full breakdown the moment it drops, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you do not miss it. Because the lineup decisions made in that Spain game could define how this entire tournament ends. And that analysis is coming next.